Nobody knows exactly what the impact of robotics and automation will be. But it's clear we're seeing it already. I mean, there used to be in Detroit and all over this country where you had automobile manufacturing. They're now producing more cars with far fewer workers, and that trend will only continue. In terms of transportation, we have millions of people today who make their living by driving a truck or a taxi cab or using a car. The day will likely come, I suppose, where we'll have driverless trucks and cars. What does that do to the millions of people who earn their living now? And I think the fundamental issue that has to be dealt with is that technology is not a bad thing in itself. But technology cannot simply be used by the owners of the technology. It's got to be used to benefit all of our people. So if we replace a dangerous job with a machine, that's a good thing. That doesn't mean you simply displace the worker and throw him or her out on the street. And that raises the question of basic income for everybody and so forth. So,
do you also support a UBI, the Universal Basic Income?
I do. I know you've expressed support for universal basic income in the past in your interviews, but there's this guy, Andrew Yang, that wants to give everybody $1,000 a month with a VAT tax. And I think to win the Democratic primary, you got to do that. You got to give everybody $1,000.
I got a better idea.
You won't do it?
Nope.
I get it, because I was a Sanders supporter in 2016. I saw Bernie's message and I said, this is the right direction. I think I have a more modern approach and that I can reach some of the same goals in a more effective way. But I love Bernie supporters. I love Bernie. Bernie's a national hero that's helped move the country in the right direction.
So speaking of Senator Sanders, as you know, I sat down with him recently and I asked him specifically about the idea of universal basic income, the Freedom Dividend in particular, and why he views a federal jobs guarantee as a superior way to deal with the threat of automation. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I think most people want to work. They want to be a productive member of society. I think it's a very deeply ingrained feeling that people have. They don't want to sit on the side. Yes, of course, getting a guaranteed income is better than having nothing and sleeping out on the street, that's for sure. But I think people want to be part of our humanity, to be truthful, and how we feel good about ourselves is when we are productive members of our society. We're contributing something. And I think people feel that very strongly. And I think there is more than enough work to be done in so many areas. And our job is to say, if you are able to work, we have a job for you. Because the truth is, we have so much work to do to rebuild this country in so many ways.
What's your response to that?
Oh my gosh. Where do I start? So there are a few issues. The big one is that Bernie's presenting it as if the American people all aspire to work for the federal government, and many of us do not. That's not the vision we have for ourselves in our careers and our lives. The second thing that he misses is that if you put this money into our hands, it creates hundreds of thousands of jobs right in our communities where we live and work, work that we'd be excited about doing. The third thing is that there are all these implementation problems in real life if you were to have a federal jobs guarantee. What are the jobs? Who manages the people? What if you don't like your job? What if you're not good at your job? The spirit of it is fantastic, but the implementation would have a whole set of problems. But the biggest issue I have with this idea of a federal jobs guarantee is it ignores the sort of work that my wife does every day, who's at home with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. It ignores the kind of work that caregivers do every day, someone like Kyle Christensen, who's at home with his ailing mom in Iowa. A federal jobs guarantee does nothing for parents, nurturers, and caregivers. And to me, that's some of the most important work that any of us are doing.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I mean, you know what I think on this issue. I've advocated for UBI. I wrote about it in my book as well.
Really good book. If you have not picked up Crystal's book, you should. It's excellent.
Thank you.
A special shout out goes to our God tier producers over on Patreon. Manuel Carrillo III, Bradley Davis, Justin Zhu, Matthew Gerard, Ahsoka Nelson, Joshua Hare, Alexandra Dembski, and Zach Sargent. If you would like to hear your name at the end of every video, then become a God tier producer of the show today.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang gang.